Hi, I'm Jen Nahl at Sunshine Lane Studio. This is my little studio space, also right within my own home, so it consists of just one little room, so come on in and view it. This is my studio space, consists of this little room right here. Usually when I get started, most of my projects start on the wheel, throw them on the wheel, and then kind of move to different sections within my studio. I do a lot where they start on the wheel and then I finish them by either hand carving, stamping, different techniques that I use to finish them. Over here I set out some in numerous stages, so I have anywhere from the greenware stage to bisque fired to ones that are completely fired. Studio space is also my office. Most of my items, I only have my studio open for the art tour. Otherwise, I have an Etsy shop. So majority of my pieces get shipped out all over the world, which is kind of cool, but I also really enjoy having the aspect of opening it up once a year and making local sales too. Although this year it's a little bit different, which is kind of sad that I can't actually have you guys within my studio walls, but very cool to have this opportunity to take a video and show you things that I've been working on, waiting for the big day in October. Some of my favorite pieces that I find very unique are my bird baths. Most of them have carvings, each line very intricate and hand carved. Takes quite a bit of time, but I focus on just the natural driftless area, and I feel like all the carvings kind of intertwine with our local area here within Northeast Iowa. There's also, moving over to this part, with the items that I call like my driftless pieces. This one is still in the works, but this year I'm trying something new and taking found pieces of driftwood and adding them onto the actual bird feeders for the perches as well. So still need some finishing touches. I have to treat the wood so it lasts and finish kind of cutting off the edges, but those are the pieces that I'm most excited about, something completely new and different that has not been up on my Etsy shop or for sale yet. So these are ones actually that I threw yesterday that will get footings put on them today, and then they will get carved in this leather hard state and go through a couple firing stages. So this area, since it's also my studio and office space, all of my items that get shipped out, I have all my things here for shipping, all my shipping boxes, and then all my labels and everything I print right off here on the computer and actually use the post office and have it picked up right from the front door. So it's kind of a cool option that has really helped out, especially in our current pandemic with everything being shut down. I don't have to leave my studio, just send them out the front door and still manage to continue on. These pieces are made of brown stoneware clay. Right now, I just threw them yesterday on the wheel, so they're currently in the leather hard stage, and that's when I take my carving tools and actually carve all these little lines into them. I can show you. It's a long process. Each little line is just hand carved, and I go all along the dish depending on if I'm going to make it look more like hills or water or the whole entire dish covered in lines. These particular ones are actually, their function is to be just freestanding bird baths. I mean, you can pretty much use them for anything you want, but all my pieces I like to have them look artistic but also functional. So they could be indoor, outdoor. If they're outdoors, just when it gets cold and freezing weather, I say bring them inside, because if water freezes in it, the dish will crack. They are very durable though, because it is stoneware clay and goes through 2 different firing processes, so it holds up really well outside. I have a few of them outside that I just put either water or birdseed in, and most of the dimensions I stick to a smaller scale. That's just kind of how I, the pottery pieces that I make, I like all smaller scale items, but the dimensions themselves, I call them bird friendly because they're more shallow. Birds don't like really deep dishes, or even for food, they like shallower dishes as well. So they're made with the birds in mind. So a lot of my little bird dishes have little birds perched on them as well. Some of them have 2 or 3 or 4. It just kind of varies how many birds I feel like I'm going to put on there. But these little birds are just hand formed. So in the leather hard stage, I take just a little soft ball of clay and I shape it into a bird. These are ones that have been bisque fired, but that just shows you kind of the finished product of the bird after it's been hand shaped. When I go to apply it onto the dish, like this one, if this was shaped into a bird, I just have my little scoring tool here and I have slip. I just score a spot right along the rim of the dish and figure out exactly how I want the bird perched on there. And then with the slip and the scoring tool, they get situated on the edge of the dish. Some of my bird baths too, instead of carving them, I imprint words into them. This is one of my favorite sayings, not my own original one, but it just kind of goes along with the bird theme as well. It says, "What if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?" And I just thought it's a very cool, inspirational quote. To get the letters on there, I actually have numerous sets depending on the size of the letter, but so each word or each letter is individually stamped into the clay with these little wooden stampers. So when it's in this leather hard stage, if I am going to put words on the dish, I just go around and each little word gets stamped into the clay. So all the bird baths that I make, I mean, they're all wheel thrown. There's never any 2 that are exactly alike. They all vary a little bit, shape, size, and especially the carvings on them. No 2 will ever be alike. I also use this hole puncher tool, whether I'm going to make it into a perch or hanging. It's another little tool I use to put the holes in when it's in the leather hard state. Just that way I can either feed string through or copper wire, depending on what the finishing touch is going to be. But that's how they turn out. This one is almost in its complete state. I just have to add the piece of driftwood across it for the little perch. One of my popular items that I feel I sell a lot, especially on Etsy, are my little, what I call mini planters or succulent planters. They're small scale, so they work best for little succulent plants or little flowers. They start as a wheel thrown piece, and then when it's in its leather hard stage, I add words to it with my little stamper set, or carve into them. Sometimes I just do more of a texturing on it, and then I take it from its round state and I kind of squish it into a little square shape. So it's wheel thrown but yet square shaped at the same time, kind of a unique little piece. So these pieces were thrown yesterday as well. They're in the leather hard stage. I let them dry overnight. I keep them covered lightly under plastic so that way they don't dry too quickly. They just dry nice and slow, and then they get to this stage, and that's when I take and squish them into the little square shape. So just lightly press it down, and turn it and do it again. Biggest thing is you want to get it right at the right point in the leather hard stage, so that way it's not too dry, because then it will start to crack as you're trying to press it. But if it's too wet, then it just is too floppy and doesn't actually cooperate very well. So usually it takes me a few times just turning it side to side to get it exactly how I want it. And I like doing it just on the canvas so that way it doesn't stick to the desk. That. So then you still kind of have the round shape along the bottom, but finished with a square shape. These I still have to trim, put the footing on them. Like this one here is completely trimmed, and then since it's a planter, I put the drain hole in the bottom too. So the pieces up here on my shelving are finished products. Just kind of gives you an idea of the style of pottery that I make by the color, the texture, the design. The ones over here show the carving, what I call like my driftless pieces. The ones on the top shelf are bowls that can be used for cooking, display, really anything you want. They're functional but artistic at the same time. The ones down on the bottom row here are little planters. As you get over farther here, the ones on the top, you can see they have little nameplates on them that I add to the dish. Like the fur child, I actually did a small wholesale order for a pet store that requested different pet dishes. So I do some, they can have custom made signs for their actual pet, or these were dishes that have people's last names on them that I've done for Christmas or weddings as well. The ones down here just show you more variety of the colors I like to use. So I like the earth tones, but I also like to add in some more vibrant colors as well. Purples and reds, maroons, blues, just kind of a wide variety of colors. So one thing I like to focus on are my small scale dishes, and a really popular item is what I call just little jewelry dishes. These are actually hand formed, majority of them, and I just take a little ball of clay and I sit and form it. I like to keep it where it's more imperfect design, I want to say, so it certainly doesn't look completely manufactured. Like my object is to actually keep the edges where they're more natural looking and not perfectly shaped, and then I take and I stamp in the words. Like this one is just a simple namaste. Some of them too I take and etch little feathers into them. I do some Latin phrases, some of them are English phrases. I do a small amount of custom orders as well. This particular one is a wheel thrown one. You can see it has the footing on the back and is actually made very much for a ring holder, so you can put the ring right in the middle. This one is The Saying by Robert Browning. Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be. And this one is actually getting sent out to a newly engaged couple, so I thought that was pretty cool. Over here I have these tiny little sage leaves. I took just sage and imprinted them into the clay. and they actually were just, I used them as test tiles, but last year on the art tour I set them just kind of out for decoration around my pieces and had numerous people ask me if they were for sale, and I had never actually thought about putting them up for sale, but I did sell some of them just because they're like, yeah, they're really cool little pieces. So I use them as my test tiles when I get new glaze, but have also sold a couple. They do have little holes so you can, you know, hang them up as well. They work really good to put a couple drops of essential oils on and have them like as a little natural diffuser too. Thanks for joining me virtually this year, and I really hope that next year in 2021 I will get to see you guys back in person in my studio.